Are you ready, gamers?
Get ready, scramble the airships in the airship armada, which is what you're listening to right now. It's time for CFM Radio.
CFM Radio. CFM Radio. Drix, we are definitely marching in tonight, aren't we?
Yeah, if you've been tuned into the show the last couple weeks, it's been a lot of game impressions coming off the heels of that Steam Next Fest and a lot of great demos that people played. But we've got some news and maybe a little game that I went and reviewed for you tonight.
Always great. And you know what, Drix? You, M. Stonewall C, Joseph Ledesma in the chat, thank you for dropping in. And you know what?
The boys, the squad.
The squad, up, absolutely. And you know what, Drix? You're so right. There has been so much raw gaming to be played, right? There have been so many big releases. Monster Hunter just came out. I mean, Jesus. We only have one new release to talk about this week, Drix. But I don't think it really matters because of all the crazy new releases. We thought last year was crazy. This year feels crazy.
Yeah. Hasn't even been that long. We barely made it to March and corned beef and Guinness season, which I'm pretty stoked about.
Corned beef and Guinness.
Yeah. Also coming off the heels of a pretty decent pinball league meetup, you know, winning 3 out of 5 games ain't bad last Monday. So
there you go.
Some pretty good players in the standings, so almost time for finals and all that good in person.
Absolutely, having great times gaming in person, and you know what? I don't think it's this week. Oh no, it's definitely not this week. I've been playing some D&D every month, but it only happens once one session per month, and we're not doing it until the end of the month. I realize I'm very far away from my next session of D&D, but you know what? In-person gaming is in-person gaming, whether it's a board game, whether it's pinball, or whether, you know what, you put in the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 collection and throw down.
Yeah, not so much couch co-op as couch fight me right now.
Right now, let's settle this.
Talk a little smack in person.
And you know what? I have to apologize for everybody to everybody for the downtime on Twitch, because this week we didn't have any gameplay over on Twitch, because you'll see it next week, because we're gonna roll out a couple of new graphics, and we are gonna have a new fresh look here at CFM. We've been preparing for this for quite a while, I would say. And now that we have a firm, concrete look moving forward, we can continue with the other great plans that we have here at CFM. We can't wait until you guys see our newest aesthetic makeover. It's going to be good.
Yes, we commissioned and patroned the arts, as we all like to do.
Indeed. But Drix, I do believe that we have to talk about the art that we love the most, and that is video games. And you were saying just a moment ago how you played a game that you want to talk about right now. And what did you end up playing, Drix?
Well, I'm gonna shine a little bit of light on this cool little indie game, and it's called Wyrmhall. Brush and Banter.
Wyrmhall, so Brush and Banter. You're seeing it on the B-roll right now, Drake. Sorry about that. What you were saying?
Oh, cool. Just to confirm, B-roll is up for Wyrmhall, Brush and Banter. So, now that I've played through this, I really realize what the title was going after, because you play as an adorable little goblin, and adorable is gonna be a real overarching theme here, because it's got this really kind of minimal like art style, but it's definitely, you're in a fantasy setting. Wyrmhall is kind of like a transitional place, portal between worlds, and so all kinds of wacky creatures just end up making residence there. So you take control of a kiosk, and what you do there, like any good kind of job simulator, is you clean magical artifacts.
Oh,
So-
okay. So that's what's going on here in the B-roll.
Yeah, exactly. So not quite like some of your other hilarious quote unquote simulator games. This one has a really great story, and it's about as mature as a pop-up storybook, which is
Okay.
both good and bad. Just depends
Yeah.
on what you're into. Not too serious. Definitely kind of like fits that cozy game kind of category, because like you're not stressed out.
Cozy
You're not trying to execute things. It's like it'll throw some surprises at you, because it's hilarious the way that characters are kind of written into and out of the story. They kind of just show up, need something cleaned, and you clean it, and then they're on their way. But the characters are all really like memorable, and there's a lot of surprises like in the writing, like, oh wow, this is cool, like I'm feeling something, I'm being gripped by this. Fun little story that like I would totally read to children or experience with them in that kind of fun way, where it's like something pops up, oh, I'm surprised, what just happened?
That sounds
But-
pretty awesome. Very immersive, sounds like.
Yeah, actually, and surprisingly so. So there's not a lot of stuff to unlock, and not really like robust mechanically, but there's a lot of, again, it throws little curveballs and twists at you during the gameplay, like, oh no, this item will be damaged in some way, like it's a bubble or it'll crack, and sometimes you have to kind of hand in your cleaning work. It tells you in the beginning it's okay to be, you don't have to be perfect, because if you try to be perfect, it'll get in the way of you
Okay.
being finished, which is like total life lesson. But yeah, there's no like, the developers didn't think it needed to be a roguelite, like you don't need like menus or like items, like you don't find things like that here. It's really just a cool story and like a fun little task that feels pretty rewarding, actually. It kind of plays like a visual novel, and then you clean something and get it back to whatever weird owner showed up and handed it to you in the first place. But there's a lot of development as far as the story goes, but decisions like minimal, not really, especially since one of the last games I reviewed was like Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's like making decisions in this game, not a lot of weight to it.
I would imagine it looks pretty low stakes from the visuals. I would imagine it, from how you're describing it, the gameplay feel is also relatively low stakes. So I would only imagine that it just follows the nature of the game and that low stakes feeling. But I gotta just ask, does it compromise the fun?
To an extent, I would say that is exactly where your mileage may vary. Like my fun definitely came from the writing, and the tasks are okay. It's like I don't usually, like, I wouldn't pick out and buy a game where I'm like about cleaning stuff. Like, as cool as Power Wash Simulator looks, like that might boil down essentially to like what you're gonna do and how much fun you're gonna have. It's pretty cool. I was swept away by the writing mostly.
Okay.
But
That sounds pretty good.
But at the same time, like, I was also very surprised by the I guess gimmicks that the gameplay actually did. Where I was like, okay, I didn't see that coming. Now I have to do this on a time limit, like the way that kind of shows up. Or like, now I need to clean this object, but it's moving.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, like little things like that where it's like, okay, you got me. Like, I'm into it. This is fun. I had a great time playing this.
Hey, well, sounds like it clearly had a great time, and it sounds like there are nice little twists on the formula once it nestles you into its gameplay loop. So, Wyrmhall, brush and banter. Before we wrap everything up, put a nice little bow on this. What do you think overall like of the overall package. Like, let's talk length to fun to like creativity and like engagement. Like, were you engaged the entire time? How long did it take you? And like, were you having fun the whole time? Or was there points where you're like, oh my god, like, can this end? Because I gotta admit, Drix, I'm watching this B-roll, right? And I'm thinking to myself when I'm seeing like this one right here, this orb, man, some of that stuff, like crevices and things like that, this looks like it can get meticulous. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, does at any point does this get, oh my god, like I wish this was just over, or were you pretty much having fun through the whole time?
No, I was definitely having a good time the entire time. It kept me guessing enough so that, yeah, I really was surprised and engaged, and it didn't feel tedious. Like, crafting in Kingdom Come definitely felt more tedious. But yeah, you kind of do a nice job and have a good time. But it was all in all pretty short experience. I kind of got to the credits and I hadn't played it entirely for 4 hours yet. It was like 3.8 hours. But we were talking about this before the show. I think what compensates for that is the price tag. I mean, it's $10 not on sale.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually on sale right now. So go on and pay that a visit if this sounds up your alley.
Well, yeah, for $10, and like I said, you know, I got to admit, again, watching the B-roll, looking at like this claw thing, I actually think is the perfect example of like the idea you're trying to get at. You know, the idea you're trying to get at in that, like, look at this dude who's like giving you the claw. He looks cool. He's like a little spider guy in a cloak. The claw itself as an artifact is interesting, and how you have to clean it and move it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if there's twists on that formula, like it's moving or like it's it's like, you know,
you can't touch this. You know, don't touch this part. It's got an eye. Don't let the eye make eye contact with you while you clean it. Like, it's too magical. It'll actually hurt. Like, it's pretty cool. Like,
that is cool.
Some pretty cool little gimmicks, little treats. I really kind of fell in love with the cat boss character the most, because he's not your manager, but he owns the stand. And there's a couple little interesting dynamics. You're actually a female goblin. You play as a female goblin, but she's got a little brother, and he'll come and bother you, you know, and sometimes there's even one level where somebody's like pesky and like messing with your tools, and I'm like, hey, get out of here. Like, what are you doing? I'm trying to clean this. And you're just, you know, some snot-nosed little kid. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's again, just really kind of surprising. Like the kind of laughs that it throws at you.
Got a lot of charm.
Level. Yeah, charm. That's the word for what that is. I was charmed. I was immersed.
And, you know, again, the visuals absolutely look charming. Look at this. This is another great example. This artifact has a really cool design. And look at that little ghost with glasses. Funny as hell.
Yeah. Yeah, the way they draw the goblins. And it's definitely to, like, maximize cuteness, even with the kind of, like, minimal art style. But I really felt like I was about to unfold the page of a book, and like one of these little characters was about to pop out.
So tons of personality, kind of short, but it's got a little short price tag, low price tag to compensate for its short run time. Sounds like there's enough little twists to keep you engaged for the whole time. Drix, I want to know, what is the final score out of 5?
You know, I do like some more robust games, but I got to give this one a solid, very, very solid 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. That's what you're here for. CFM Radio, Game Review, Wyrmhall, Brush and Banter. It's out right now on Steam, and I believe that's the only platform it's out for currently. But again, definitely a charming little game. Look at these character designs. They're so great. I don't think I've seen one that I don't like. And on top of it,
great character design, great writing.
And on top of it, it is definitely, like you were saying, Drix, one of those cozy, sounds like it lends itself to being a cozy game. 3 hours, 4 hours might not be
it's a nice rainy day.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to get at. It might not seem like, oh, this is like the most hardcore game, or this is one of those games where you might not want to equate value to runtime, right? Because if you really do enjoy the writing, the game is clearly going to sweep you off your feet. But if it doesn't click with you, then you're probably not going to be into it. I definitely don't think that if you're not into this aesthetic, like you're saying, this pop-up book aesthetic, then I don't think this is going to be the game for you.
Yeah, there might be something free to play that you could be putting hours into.
Yeah. Wyrmhall, Brush and Banter, 3 out of 5. CFM, clusterfuckedmedia.com, official review. Thank you very much, everybody, for checking it out. And if you want a rainy day game, or you just want a game that you could beat in an afternoon, right? Just a quick little charming experience. This looks like it fits the bill to a T.
Yeah, 4 hours you might just remember for a lifetime.
Indeed. And really quick, before we go to our break, we're going to just mosey on into our next story, because Drix, okay, we're gonna get everyone sees the title of the stream. We're gonna talk Trump tariffs on gaming a little bit later in the show, but that's gonna be later, because right now we still got to ease into it. But we are going to hit you, our dear listeners, with a little bit of an interesting thing that happened, or an interesting happening with a former writer of the Battlefield games. And yeah. I
might even just keep it light for a while, and with this Mario Day March 10th music celebration I've got going on in the background here.
You know what? If you wanted any of those Mario games, now, I think the sale's still on. Now is the time. But
yeah, you still have time for the Mario Day first-party Switch games.
And we still got a little bit of time, CFM Radio, because the headline, well, before I even get into it, because I gotta say, we started the show, CFM Radio, one of our first ever episodes. I think it might have been the first ever episode. We did a story on how Hideo Kojima was shocked that his work on Metal Gear was a sort of a speculative fiction in hindsight. You look back and you're like, damn, I was really right about all this information age stuff.
Death Stranding predicted pandemic type beat.
Yeah. And you know what, Drix? I had a report on it. Now we have another instance of a game's narrative hitting too close to home. But you know what? This game, particularly, went unreleased.
Oh, yeah, not for that reason either.
Yeah.
Probably a while ago now.
Oh, yeah, because the headline is, quote, "I am freaked out by how much might have actually been accurate. Battlefield Bad Company 3 writer unearths forgotten script." And that is from GamesRadar.com.
Dang. Life imitates art. Or vice versa. Who knows?
Oh, baby. From the article, quote, "Battlefield Bad Company 2 came out all the way back in 2010, which makes me feel unbelievably old. One of its developers, David Goldfarb, recently uncovered the script he was working on for Battlefield Bad Company 3, and he may have accidentally predicted some of the future. Reading further, rather than being worried about Russia invading the U.S. with its military, Goldfarb seems more concerned with the diplomatic relationship between Russia and the U.S. under the newly re-elected President Donald Trump. It's a topic Goldfarb tweets about a lot. Quote, one of the tweets in question is, damn it, I found the first 3 pages of my Bad Company 3 scripts. I forgot I had the store Haggard was working in called Adios Vidania, and now I am freaked out by how much might have been actually accurate." And hey,
speculative fiction.
Speculative fiction.
Speculative.
Right, speculative fiction. Like, it's funny because, a little bit tinfoil hatty, right? I'm not gonna lie, a little bit tinfoil hatty. Let's not go crazy with something like this, but
Yeah.
it is interesting how this is why here at CFM Radio, honestly, we believe games are art because this isn't the first time something like this has happened.
Yeah, you can't help it. You're just out here having these creative endeavors, Not that you spoke something into existence, but like it's pretty funny if you happen to write a script and go like, "Oh wow, this may or may not actually go down. So funny."
Yeah. Who knew? But you know what?
Yeah.
I will say the one thing we do know is, Drix, we have new releases, but that's going to come up right after our first break because we got to jam out to, what is this, Super Mario Sunshine?
Oh yeah, we're playing some Isle Delfino.
Oh yeah.
I might slide in one of my favorite Mario vocal songs after this, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned, CFM Radio.
CFM Radio.
We'll be back.
Yoshi Bongo.
To the center of my Super Mario adventure. My girl's trapped on the other side of town, so I'm moving in leaps and bounds. Folks around my way think I'm strange, but there's a villain to blame. Even my mom, she thinks I'm crazy, but I got to rescue Daisy. There ain't no place like Super Mario Land. Back off my Lisa Stansfield trip, and I'm rejuvenated and I'm remixed. I took planes, trains, and automobiles, and for real got ill. In Brazil, I'm the Wizard of Oz while on tour, and got war in Singapore, and I'm eating sushi in Japan, but there ain't no place like Super Mario Land. There ain't no place like Super Mario Land.
Check this out.
She's my lady, my pride and joy. Cause to her I'm a hero, not a toy boy. So I'm climbing mountains, swinging through trees, and even facing killer bees down secret tunnels in dark rooms. Met with a creature from the Blue Lagoon. Folks out there might think that I'm crazy, but I got to rescue Daisy.
CFM Radio.
CFM Radio, we are back.
Yes. That was a track called Super Mario Land, a remix of the Game Boy Overworld song by a little group called Ambassadors of Funk. You might be able to hear in that one a little bit of our favorite, everybody's favorite James Brown sample.
I do love the James Brown shout almost as much as the Mario Yahoo.
Yes.
So, as we said earlier, we only have one new release to talk about, but I don't think that's a big deal because, again, there's so many games that came out, so many new releases. You can sink your teeth into a million games that have come out within the last, week or last month?
Yeah. Statistically, you're playing something that's free to play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could be playing a free-to-player. But
We're talking most gamers.
yeah, seriously. But we've, and I'm not going to lie, we've got more on how politics is affecting games later. But first, here it is. And it's not MLB The Show. That's out next week. But it's Out of the Park Baseball 26.
Yeah, putting out your baseball game before the bigger baseball game. That's a big move.
Yeah,
Ambitious plans.
It's a ballsy move.
Yes. On guard, indeed. But this could be pretty cool. As long as it's officially licensed,
Yes. As long as it's officially licensed, and it does look like it is. And you know what, Drake? This is kind of interesting because this game is not hitting consoles. It is a PC exclusive.
Wow. Yeah. So you can play this between betting on your favorite sports games or something. You can have the TV on and be on your PC and still be enjoying, our favorite pastime.
Yeah, check it out. Making sure your FanDuel is your FanDuel parlay is still legit. But
Yes.
So here it is from the Steam page, quote, 26 years of sports gaming excellence. Out of the Park Baseball 26 is here. Officially licensed by the MLB, the MLB Players Incorporated, and the KBO. This year's brand new version puts you firmly in charge of your favorite baseball franchise. Your team, your way, your rules.
Sounds pretty sweet. I mean, seems like quite the simulator as well as bat swinging action.
Exactly.
Fast.
I do think this is leaning a bit more into the simulation side.
Yeah. Menus and stats for all my friends.
Yeah, gotta love them. Hey, you know what? I love myself a nice crunchy game, right?
Yeah, I want my games to look like a spreadsheet.
You know what? If it calls for it, I do. Like,
I want those spreadsheets to matter.
yeah, I want the
cutting
spreadsheet
edge.
to matter.
The cutting edge of these statistics.
Exactly. I want to be playing fantasy baseball, and you can be playing fantasy baseball with Out of the Park Baseball 26 when it releases Thursday, March 14th, exclusively on PC Steam. Drix, that's tomorrow.
Yeah, it's coming at you faster than a fastball over the plate.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? If you are, again, want to be a little bit more crunchy about your baseball, have those statistics matter, this one looks like the game for you.
Yeah, there hasn't been a baseball manager game yet, has there?
I mean, this one's annual, so
Ah, okay. So it's a returning hero.
it's just kind of low key. And you know what, Drix? Like we were saying earlier, this one comes out right before MLB, the new MLB. So
Yeah.
I think it's MLB. I think it's
something different, though.
MLB 25. I think this one is because I think the last one was 24. Because I think these guys do the 1 year ahead, but I don't think MLB the game franchise proper does it 1 year ahead.
Oh, nice. Yeah, a little catch up, just in time for spring training, right?
Right? Exactly. Either way, baseball fans eating good.
Definitely. Take your pick.
And we are going to pick apart the Trump tariffs and how they affect gaming from the perspective of an analyst that if you read our stuff on CFM or clusterfuckedmedia.com, you will know the name. But before we do that, Drix, we have to march on to our next break to this tune. What are we listening to?
Keeping with the Mario theme today, since this is the Mario Day week's show. 2 days ago, Monday was Mario Day.
March 10th.
This is actually Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, a song called Plucky Pass Beginnings.
Love Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Great game, totally underrated. CFM Radio. We'll be back.
Wii U.
And switch.
Gaming news.
CFM Radio, we are back.
We are back, and we are so live, and I am switching up the vibe. That was Rules of Nature from Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Since we're on a bit of a serious tip today. And but before that, concluding the Mario set, if you will, was a song called Choir on the Green from Dance Dance Revolution Mario
Mix. Yes, sir. A rare
Yeah,
game
just
now,
got it.
dude. Like, really expensive.
Yeah, if you have that one still, geez, you're lucky if you're not emulating it. That's funny. Yeah, I had to definitely tag that one with an ID.
Insane to me that it's funny to me that like that game, Donkey Kong, not Donkey Konga, but the Donkey Kong,
Konga.
not the Conga, but the other one that used the I think it's Jungle Beat, like that used the congas. Like, all these like niche Nintendo games are like going way up in price. The Wii version of Pikmin 1, like.
Yeah, I think Gen Z still likes to collect these, like, even
Yes.
just a weird Mario peripheral. It's like, wow, they don't make things like this anymore.
That is.
They
That
sure
is-
don't.
Yeah. It was a great. There's a lot of great classic games, but here's the thing: a lot of those games are physical, and
Yeah,
we don't.
imagine buying a Guitar Hero guitar for Fortnite nowadays or
Jesus.
something.
Well, I mean, they're selling them again, so. But so okay, and finally we've got our final story of the night, and it's a big one. And here's the thing: we don't like to get, let's say, overly partisan on the show, and so this is all going to come from a very matter of fact point of view.
Yeah.
We're not political pundits, and we're not
Nope.
here to comment on any sort of political implications, but we're here to comment on how the U.S. government under the Trump administration handing out trade tariffs like they're candy is going to affect you, the gamer.
Yeah, I'll hold all my biases just like I do when I review games and stuff.
Hey, you know what? You gotta hold. We have a
Try to
we-
present facts.
hey, you know what? I'll say it like this: we have a statement from Media Research's Reese Elliott. He is. We talked about him in our most recent article on clusterfuckedmedia.com. If you haven't checked that out, but he's the guy who pinpointed that people watch more games than they play. So
Oh,
if it's one.
strange?
Yes, and if it's one thing this guy knows, it's statistics. And he gave his opinion to WCCFtech.com, and that headline is, quote, U.S. tariffs will be bad for gamers, but publishers would welcome the death of retail, says analyst.
Huh. Yeah. No, I think I definitely have my way of interpreting that.
Right.
As at least illustrating the difference between a publisher and a game developer. I too have trying to grown accustomed to what these concepts are and mean, and the differences between a video game publisher and a video game developer. That's definitely sounds like something a publisher would say and not a developer.
Yes, and especially since, again, very different worlds, publisher and developer. Very different worlds, hardware manufacturer or platform holder and developer,
Yeah.
right? Very, very
Yeah.
different worlds. So,
What platforms you develop for?
so here it is
Decisions to make.
from the article, quote, President Donald Trump certainly made some controversial decisions in his first few weeks back in the Oval Office, to say the least. Here, we'll focus on the impact of these tariffs on the gaming world. Historically, hardware manufacturers have tried to shield customers from such state-imposed taxes, although that might not be possible in the same way this time around. Now, The outlet, end quote, by the way. Now, the outlet reached out to Media Research's Reese Elliott, prominent figure in our own look at the industry over at clusterfuckedmedia.com. And the following are his comments on the matter obtained from WCCF Tech in full. Get ready. Quote, the U.S. tariffs will impact games in the games market in various ways. Hardware will, of course, be affected as many components are made in China, one of the key targets of the tariffs. Already, GPU sellers like Newegg have announced price hikes for the 50 series NVIDIA GPUs as a direct result of increased tariffs on components made in China. That said, most of those GPUs sold out nonetheless, and scalpers are charging even more than the marked up original prices. So, the immediate impact in this case has been low. However, further into the future, as inventory of GPUs, smartphones, and other consumer electronics in the US run out, the impact will be felt more widely. According to Trump, the U.S. tariffs will result in a, quote, much stronger, much richer nation. However, this is just populist politics in action, as tariffs will actually result in a weaker, poorer nation. Counter to the U.S. administration's public reasoning for the tariffs, it is ultimately the average consumers who will face the brunt of the populist policies. Some manufacturers will likely shift their manufacturing to non-tariff impacted markets as a result, which is already happening. But this is only really possible for the biggest companies that have scale enough to eat the lower profit margins. In most cases, smaller companies and even some bigger ones relying solely on hardware cannot afford to do this. However, hardware is sometimes simply a Trojan horse for companies to generate software. Manufacturers of some hardware, like the Steam Deck, sell their hardware at a loss, while others barely break even. For that reason, companies like Sony for its PS5s and Valve for its Steam Decks might simply eat the increased costs caused by the tariffs, as they don't want to limit their total addressable markets for selling the more software. Reading further, as many game discs are sold in the US are made in Mexico, another target of the tariffs, physical media will also be impacted. As mentioned by Matt Piscatella of Circana on Blue Sky, some publishers will ultimately forego physical versions of their games. But this is just speeding up the inevitable. Most publishers and platform holders on console want physical to die anyway. The console market is already moving increasingly towards digital, driven further by strategies like multi-game subscriptions, free-to-play's rise, and platform holders pushing consumers to digital version perks such as extra cosmetics and the ability to preload a game so it's instantly ready to play at launch. Of course, one unique value proposition of physical games is the pre-owned and rental markets, giving players more choice. But platform holders and publishers do not gain revenues from the physical renting and resales. After all, a game could be sold on the reseller market at 100 times or rented 100 times. But the publisher or platform holder only captures revenues from the first sale. A digital-only market means publishers and platform holders have more control over prices too. Price in the physical games market is more elastic versus digital, and is, therefore, more beholden to supply and demand, which is why pre-owned physical games are often cheaper than titles found on PlayStation and Xbox's digital stores.
Ooh, yeah. We have illustrated the differences here. Man.
Whenever we
What a
can.
time to be alive.
Reading further, the death of physical games would ultimately be bad for consumers, giving them less choice, but positive for publishers. And the introduction of these extreme tariffs will also be bad for consumers, but will be positive for the US administration's populism. Policies that lead to higher prices for everyday people amidst the cost of living are deplorable. And what's more, time and again, data has shown that tariffs harm the economy. Simply put,
Data.
tariffs are bad for gamers and the game's business. While I won't comment on the real reason for US tariffs, it is certainly not what the administration proposes. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you've been tuned in to CFM Radio, I hate to say it, but this is kind of, and he even recently even says it here. It's kind of just the high road to the inevitable, right? Like,
yeah.
When you
in any industry, you're talking about something going on. Like if you're a vendor vending, so any amount of stuff. Like this is definitely a conversation everybody's having right now.
Yes.
We report a lot on game layoffs, but a lot of other layoffs going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of layoffs going on, and we'll just say it. It's going on in the federal government as well in the United States. So the
parks.
Yeah, so the job market is competitive to say the least, and at record low unemployment rates. It's becoming quite dog eat dog, let's say. So when you have something, it's right. These extreme tariffs are kind of like a death blow. And currently, the tariffs from the second Trump administration that are in effect are 25% taxes on all steel and aluminum imports, but there's also a flat 20% tax on Chinese imports as a whole. So other accompanying news stories you see are things such as Apple trying to move out of China. A lot of big electronics manufacturers over the last 5 years have moved out of China. We reported on some here. So
Chips, graphics cards.
yes, and that's ultimately what's going to be going on. Is that here's the real deal, Drix. These are all tariffs on China. These aren't tariffs on Taiwan.
Oof.
And
the intricacy of it all.
yeah, and that might seem like a small wrinkle, but it is a very key wrinkle for the game industry specifically, because if chip manufacturers can wholesale move their manufacturing or even piecemeal move it to a non-tariff location such as Vietnam or Japan, or even a location such as Argentina,
Okay.
you can get something relatively smooth in a transition going on here. And a lot of companies, as Reese Elliott pointed out, have been doing that, but the little guy gets crushed. The little guy, and the death. Here's the real story amidst everything, and I'll end the show with this commentary. The real tariffs that, as a gamer, you need to look at are the ones that the Trump administration are slapping on Mexico. Mexico is our largest trade partner, and they make we don't just import. I think last time it was 30% of most of our consumer goods from Mexico, but they also, as Reese Elliott pointed out, make the discs and the cartridges that store your physical media games. They also, these things store Blu-ray. They also make Blu-rays down there. All this physical media that you have come to rely on in the video game world. And I'll even cut it further because no one wants to talk about this. All those little SD cards, Nintendo licensed SD cards, regular micro SD cards that come from across the border. There are some that are made over right here in our backyard. Absolutely. But the ones that come across the border are going to be affected. And if you're a gamer, you have probably, and let's say you own a Switch, you probably have one of these SD cards because it gives you that much more storage to store digital games. And now, even if you're a digital games enthusiast, your archiving capacity is at risk because of these tariffs. You won't even be able to get a regular SD card.
Yeah.
Unless you buy domestic.
Add for everybody's storage.
And the final thing, the real deal, the real wrinkles between the lines is Nintendo specifically. We can't forget, Nintendo's whole philosophy is lateral movement with lateral thinking with withered design. That is the entire ethos of Nintendo hardware. Your Nintendoswitch is one of the best-selling consoles in the world, in history, is probably less powerful than an iPhone 11.
Yeah, we've come pretty far from that iPhone.
So, if Nintendo is going to have to really put more money into its next console because specifically it uses cheaper parts that might be chiefly manufactured in Mexico, your Switch 2 might be $600.
Yes. Lay it on me. Ooh,
Your Switch 2 is going to be $700.
Yes.
Because we got
finally new withered technology.
Right. Hey, you know what? That's where we're at. We're at the point where you have to, as a gamer, you really have to look at this. And you are being pushed into a corner. At least in my point of view, you're being pushed into a corner by big gaming. Being pushed into the corner by Phil Spencer and Matt Booty and all the guys in Japan, over in Sony Japan. All those guys who did the hostile takeover. Yep, the Game Pass boys making their own handheld. We didn't even get into this show. But there is all of these shifting parts and all of these moving pieces really I'm sounding the alarm bell right now. I'm not saying it's doom, but I'm saying pay attention because there is a lot of movement happening. And your favorite developers, I'll just name a couple off of the top of my head. Nicalis, Atlas, BioWare, any European-based developer, CD Projekt Red. These developers are all going to be subject to these tariffs. And if they hit hard, as Reese Elliott pointed out, you might not just ever see a physical version of the next Cyberpunk, the next Witcher, the next Persona. You might not see these.
Yeah, definitely quite a statement to land on to punctuate our CFM radio tonight. Sounding the alarm.
Sounding the alarm. We're getting hit hard. It's one of those things, and in a constantly fluctuating economic situation, not just practically, but if you do have the resources to be an enthusiast, you already understand that the retro game market is also in complete upheaval. We are literally teetering on the precipice of the entire gaming market, physical games market, physical games market being in total upheaval.
Yeah. Make things cheaper or we will simply steal them. I will just put emulators on every possible device.
And God bless
classics.
And you know what, Drix, we can't lie. Isn't that what the people are going to turn to?
Yeah, let me just fill that SD card that I can barely afford with as many console discographies as possible. and
No
just
one's gonna
never
buy
really
into
think
these
about
new.
it.
No one's gonna buy into these new games, Drix. No one's gonna buy into these new shitty games that require you, like Reese Elliott is saying, they're free to start. Resell. I'll combine Reese Elliott and Bobby Kotick. Reese Elliott and Bobby Kotick. Bobby Kotick, free to start. Reese Elliott, rise of free to play. I'll call it the rise of free to start. And no one's gonna want that. No one's gonna buy it. No one's gonna get into it because it's like you said, Drix. Why do that when I could get the SD, when I could spend the exorbitant amount of cash on an SD card that will play every game from the NES to the PS2?
Yeah, it's almost like a dream.
Why would I
digital
do?
dream?
Why would I think of anything else? Buy the Steam Deck, right? Turn that bitch into a fucking emulation machine. You're up and cooking.
Yeah, and we'll probably see less like third-party Switches and Steam Decks
Yep.
too.
We're gonna see a
Just,
lot less of
only-
those.
Only the giants that can, move their entire manufacturing operation can weather the storm, dodge these tariffs. Who knows?
Who knows? But what we do know is if you keep tuning in to CFM Radio, we're gonna tell you all about it whenever we can.
Yes, we hope to leave you both educated, informed, and entertained by some pretty sweet video game tunes.
Pretty sweet video game tunes. And you know what? This tune is not from a video game, but Drix, this is one of your originals, and I think on this note, it's not the greatest note, it's not the most upbeat note, but this is the note we gotta leave it on because hey, we're gamers, but just like every gamer knows, sometimes you gotta lock in.
Yep, time to go squad up or something.
Thanks for tuning in, CFM Radio. We hope you are entertained, educated, and informed. Hope you hit that like button for us. Please also subscribe if you have not. Check out CFM over on Twitch, twitch.tv/CFM on Twitch, all one word. Make sure that you check us out. Next week, gameplay is back. WrestleQuest, The Grind Live. It's coming. We are coming back. It's going to be a very strong comeback. Can't wait to see you all there. Gonna be a great time. Drix, I think we're out of here.
Yes. Thanks for sharing, Vector. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you, Drix, for excellent spinning. Have a great night, everybody. See you next week.